Hi, this is Jonathan DePaula, and I'm sharing with you guys today, along with my team members Paul Rodgers, Nathan Ormiston, and Daniel Anderson, about sharing dermatology cases with other physicians. Our project sponsor is Amit Sharma, who is a medical doctor at the Mayo Clinic. A little bit about our project is we are creating a web application that enables doctors and physicians to have a stable and secure online environment to communicate and share patient cases with one another. Up until now, the way that they've been able to communicate with one another is using applications such as private Facebook groups or an email application called Listserv. We look to change that in this project by creating a web application that should be easy to use, to navigate, and to understand. Users using this application must be able to post images, and they should be able to verify that they are allowed to post these images and not violating any privacy violations. And finally, creating something that is HIPAA compliant. HIPAA is essentially a federal law that is meant to protect the private and confidential information about clients that are visiting doctors. So a couple of the requirements in regards to this project is that it has a familiar style to Reddit or Facebook, to social media applications. As mentioned earlier, it is meant to be HIPAA compliant, secure. It's supposed to be question and answer based, allowing for people to post questions and for other doctors to be able to answer those questions. And finally, it should be able to allow users to post about patients and attach images so that they can receive guidance from other doctors about what may be the issue with their client.
My name is Paul Rodgers, and I'm going to talk about some technologies and the results that we had from our project. Some technologies that we focused on, we focused heavily on the Microsoft stack of development. We used Visual Studio, tied in directly with Azure. We hosted our database on Azure because it was easy to use, understand, and we have done it before. We used GitHub as our source control so that we all could share the projects or the code together. One great functionality we implemented was called Entity Framework, and that is built by Microsoft that allows our database tables to be mapped into objects so that we can use it in our code. Made things a lot easier and a lot easier to update and save and get records from the database. Another thing on Azure we used was called the blob storage. We used that to host our images that the patients uploaded, or the doctors uploaded about their patients, and that was also very easy to use as well. Some of the decisions that we made early on was to use Azure to host our database and web application. Visual Studio is a programming environment that ties in directly with Azure. So the ability to host our database and publish to Azure services is all built into Visual Studio. Another main reason why we chose this is Microsoft Azure provides a secure transmissions of data to ensure HIPAA compliance. When designing a web application for HIPAA compliance, this is one of their main things, is that the data has to be encrypted from wherever it's at the client all the way to Azure services, and Azure provides that. We use C#, JavaScript, HTML, and CSS as the main programming languages. Very basic and easy to understand and learn web development languages. The architecture that we decided to use on is called MVC, the Model View Controller architecture. We chose this because it's easy to understand. You have the separation of concerns for easy code readability. It's easy to break out the views data and the controllers and the ability to talk to the database. One decision that we had to make as well was the ability to hash user login information. We did not want to save plain text passwords in our database. And we also have different roles for normal users and for admins. For example, our sponsor is an admin in there, so he has the ability to delete people's posts, to delete users, to restrict users' access to many things. And he also has other roles as well that will be discussed later.
All right, my name is Nathan Ormiston, and I'm going to be talking about some of the results and the way that we implemented some things in our project itself. So at the end of the project, what we really wanted to end up with was a website that was available for beta testing so that our sponsor would be able to put this out in his group and they would be able to test it to see how useful it would be to them. So we were able to deliver that. Some of the functionalities inside that beta test were hashed logins for users so that they would be able to log in securely using our authentication. They were also able to create groups, but only if they were admins. So right now, only our sponsor is an admin, so he's going to be the only one that'll be able to create groups and invite people to groups so that he wants to keep that very close-knit in a circle that he wants to be able to control very closely. We also wanted to have the user be able to post specific questions and have them answered. So in order to do that, we created a post mechanism similar to Reddit where they would be able to post anonymously or as themselves. Just in case they didn't want their information out there, they could still answer or ask a question regardless of whether or not they wanted their identity to be revealed over the internet. We also implemented the nesting commenting structure. So we used an n-deep level comment so that no matter how many replies there are in a thread, a user can always reply to a comment and get the answer that they need to get. We also used something that was very important, which was role-based access control. And that gave us the ability to limit who saw what piece of the information and who was able to create groups. As I mentioned before, only the super admin was able to create groups and invite people to groups. So this is the main post page. So when you actually click on a post and view it, this is what you'll see. As you can see here, we do have a question at the very top. It said it needs help diagnosing a medical condition. Has a description. Usually they'll have like a short summary of what their actual full question was. And then the history of all the things that they've attempted to do to the patient or treatments that they have tried previously, just so that the other doctors are well informed with the condition of the partner, or the patient rather. And then as you can see here, we do have the n-deep comment level nesting structure so that we have the replies that are replied to replies and et cetera, all the way down, just so that the user can get all the information that they need. This is our home page right here. We actually have all of our groups on the left-hand side so that you can see which groups you're actually viewing the recent posts from. So on this page, it's something similar to Reddit's front page where you have all of the posts that are available to you from all of your groups. So if you wanted to be able to only see posts that were in a specific group, you would just click on the Groups tab, and that would be the group that you viewed it for.
Hi, my name is Daniel Anderson, and lastly, I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the lessons that we learned while designing this project and working on it throughout this last year. So probably the biggest thing that we learned is to be able to take a project idea and really transform it into an actual working application. It's something that we don't have a ton of experience with throughout our education, to take just a very basic idea and use a bunch of different programming languages and go through different iterations and actually make something cool that works. And so that was a really neat lesson that we learned. Also learning a little bit about databases, SQL, and being able to build a database and also have it connect with our application. Implementing an authorization mechanism to ensure that only practicing doctors are able to register to the website using an NPI number. We learned a lot about accountability because working on such a big project requires you to constantly be thinking ahead, constantly be working on what needs to be done, and being held accountable by doing our weekly minutes reporting, and also by reporting our progress to our sponsor in our weekly or bi-weekly meetings was a really important lesson that we learned. Additionally, we were able to learn some new programming languages. I personally did not have a whole lot of experience with HTML or JavaScript or CSS, those web-based languages, and so it was really neat and really interesting to have an opportunity to learn a little bit more about how those things work and how they can be used to really give a really good-looking web application. And also the importance of planning and task assignment through task boards such as Trello. So when you're working on such a big project like this, there's a lot of things that need to get done, so being able to assign tasks to specific people to have those things work on was a really important lesson to make sure everything that needed to get done was getting done. So in conclusion, we were able to meet our sponsor's requests and requirements and to build the fully functional web application that he wanted. And again, we were able to learn lots of new things and apply a lot of the concepts and things that we've learned throughout our time here at ASU to do something really cool and to actually be part of an application that could help change the way that doctors communicate with each other. And so we're still very grateful to ASU for all the learning opportunities that we've had. We're grateful for our wonderful professors and for all the hard work they've put in for us and helping us to learn and to become better software engineers and better people. And we're also grateful to our sponsor, Amit Sharma, for his willingness to work with us and to be patient with us and to help us to know exactly what he envisioned for this project. And it was an awesome time, so thank you.